Hi, this is Mark, and I am here at the Integral Yoga Institute. I taught my Saturday morning class. It's 9:30 class till 11, and I'm now coming down to here to read the Golden Present Daily Inspirational Readings by Sri Swami Satchidananda. Super sunny out, so it's actually it looks like it's even hard to see that cover, but it was raining this morning, and the sun's come out, so. It's April 8th, and I'm doing the reading that has the topic An Ounce of Faith. Faith and fear don't go together. If you have faith, there's nothing to be afraid of. God is the one who sent me. God is the one who is keeping me alive. God is the one who is doing everything for me. Whatever I need, God is going to give me. If I don't need something, He won't give it to me. Even if I cry, He won't give it to me if it's not needed. Why? Because it may not be good for me. So just have faith. An ounce of faith will make you super happy. Well, last time I was sitting here and doing this reading, it was another reading about faith. It was a couple days ago. I think it was the one from April 6th. You don't have to be afraid of anything. And it starts off saying, have complete faith. So, yeah, it feels like we're going through some readings about faith at a time when that feels to be less strong for me than it has been at other times. So it's helpful to read things like this and to even here just to have an ounce of faith. So it doesn't say you should be completely filled with faith your whole life. You should always have faith all the time. But simply recognizing at times we sometimes don't have ourselves completely filled with full faith. And to recognize that even an ounce of faith can bring some happiness to us because it uplifts. It creates that potential in us to be able to move towards our heart's longing. There's something in us that we believe is really true, or something that we really believe we want to experience and possibly even have. And keeping something within us that can remind us to reach towards that is very helpful, and in this case, faith. I also like in here that it's talking about whatever I need, God is going to give it to me. If I don't need something, He won't give it to me. Again, reminding myself and for those watching that God can be any concept for you that is something that's greater than your own thoughts. Something that has the potential to expand the way that we think about this universe beyond our own really imagination or thinking, because it's just so vast, so huge. So is there that higher power, that intelligent universal energy that can be guiding some of the flow here on this planet, some of the way that the ebb and flow of consciousness and even the ebb and flow of the fluctuations of our own mind. There's some part of that we have complete control over, and some that we don't. There's just this flow of tens of thousands of thoughts that come through our mind, and we tend to think we know which ones are the right ones to grab onto, but is there some higher force or some higher presence in our life, that is able to help guide us? And if we can become more open to that channel of wisdom, more open to that higher self within us, more information may be revealed to help us navigate through this, to know that, of course, there's something to connect with that's not just this being that doesn't feel like it's plugged into anything, but we actually are plugged into something, I believe. But I'd be curious what other people believe in. What keeps us going, what gets us up each day. What has us have faith that there's a reason to get up and do the things that we're doing, that our actions have a cause and effect. The way that we think, the way that we act, how we talk with one another, how we make choices in life. Do those things impact others? Does that law of cause and effect show up in your life in different ways? And I like this last reminder here, if I were to cry and beg for this thing that I think I need and I don't get it, maybe it's because it would be something that's not good for me. It could be that it's, again, this higher intelligence that's saying, maybe not right now, or maybe this wouldn't be good for you to win the lottery. I mean, that must be the case, else I would have won. Of course, I'm not playing, so that's the other law of cause and effect. If you're not taking the effort, then how do you expect to receive the fruits of your efforts? Um, but with my yoga business, it's feels like there's a little bit of this uphill climb and slow build to this vision that I want to create. Why isn't it just all happening all at once? Well, maybe it's saying here, maybe it wouldn't be good for me to have all that. Maybe having all that responsibility or having all that um, sense of duty and service might be overwhelming right now. So maybe this slow build for me and learning how to do this is better. So there's a sense of that I trust, rather than to try to negate or try to think that, my smaller self has the right idea. I tend to be more open to that there is a higher intelligence or a divine intelligence. I hear someone's come into the house, or someone's leaving. Hello. Oh well, I'm in an area where it's the entrance for a lot of the residents here at Integral Yoga, and I always like to think I'm going to pull someone into one of my readings, but um, I have asked, so there will be people that will get to join. So I'm excited about that. Um, so this is just one of those readings that challenges me, but I like to meditate on this to feel how does this show up in my life, rather than to think that, well, it's not possible, or having an ounce of faith isn't enough. I need to have more. Could it be that it's, everything it does happen as it needs to and happens for a reason? We think about some of the events of the world and why would those things need to happen, and how can I have faith when there's certain parts of the world it feels that there's this endless war, this endless absence of peace, and how hard it can be to have faith that anything can change or be different, and that why wouldn't God, this higher intelligence, want to try to help create something that would bring good? Why wouldn't that be needed for an area where there's, so much pain, so much death? And that's, complex question that the yoga practices and philosophies do speak about, in saying that there is a kind of like a different level of operation happening that can be hard for ourselves to fully comprehend why things would happen the way that they do, because we have a limited understanding of the cause and effect of the world. But there is a different perspective when the aperture of knowledge opens so wide that, philosophy and yoga says that we can become aware that there is no difference between the dualities, that we work from these two sides of one thing, whether it's life and death, good, bad, birth, death, that they ultimately merge towards a place of balancing in this point of highest consciousness, that there is no difference. There always is just this one current that's flowing at all times, and that we perceive all these differences happening as realities, but in effect they are all just an illusion of the mind to distract us from what is true, that there is this pure essence, this pure divine energy that is always running through all of us, through everything. And that at times we can tap into that to have a sense of that knowledge that can help us recognize that that the pain and struggle and suffering that we see is on a different level of consciousness. But on the deeper level, there's nothing being harmed, there's nothing being hurt. Again, that's just a very brief and very simplified version of it, but it begins to open the doors to understanding that there's something more complex here. It's not just a world that is, falling into demise, but like the Buddhist teachings say, that life is suffering. There is this great understanding that we experience a lot of pain and suffering, but there's actually a way to move away from this, move through this, into this, and then away from this. But it's a practice. It takes a lot of effort and time and journey to navigate. And that's what happens for me when I see these things in the world that my mind can't possibly make sense of, that I haven't heard anybody's rationale be able to reason why this should be happening until I start to go into the spiritual scriptures. And that's why I get motivated to want to look deeper and to understand these in a more deep way, which is part of why I'm wanting to practice sharing these. So thanks for listening, for tuning into these, and really appreciate it. In particular, if it causes you to think, brings a different space into your mind. It stretches that out to consider other ways of being with yourself. We get it caught up in this habit way of being and doing things that may serve us a good percentage of the time, but maybe not always. Can we find a way to learn from all of that? Yeah, just as I am through doing these readings, my mind and experience is going through a lot of fluctuations, but I'm hanging in there. So thanks for hanging in there with me, and I'll see you tomorrow.